Next up is Erica Mackie. She's with an organization that's empowering our low-income communities, pun intended, I guess. She's the co-founder and executive director of Grid Alternatives. And before Grid, her professional experience included work in the social sector, first with survivors of domestic violence, and then with youth at risk. And she also worked with renewable energy and energy efficiency consulting and sales. So Grid Alternatives is a nonprofit that's based in Oakland, and they install solar electric systems exclusively for families living on low incomes. Grid trains job trainees, the families themselves if they're interested, and the general public, people like me and some of you in here I think as well, in the installation process. Erica co-founded the organization 7 years ago, and in that time it's grown from a kitchen table operation that installed 2 systems a year to a statewide organization that's poised for national expansion and is installing over 1,000 systems a year from 7 offices in the state. Erica has received numerous awards for her leadership of Grid, and I'll turn it over to her now and let her tell you more about it.
Pretty darn loud, so we'll see. Joy, I'm very impressed that you could do anything without your glasses. If I lose my glasses, I also, not only can I not see, I cannot hear. I must be good reading. I was thinking I would never be able to do that. Thanks so much, Rosanna, for having me. If Rosanna calls you and asks you to do something, you definitely say yes right away. And it's exciting for us to be here because you know, the community solar conversation, we're sort of on the periphery. I mean, we are working with single-family homeowners, but often homeowners that are getting left out of the energy equation. And so I'm just going to walk through what our model is, but I am hoping that some of the discussion, I too will learn how maybe our model can intersect with you know, sort of the more traditional meaning of community solar as you've sort of defined it. So let's see if I can make this go. So Grid is a nonprofit organization. Rosanna did a great description. I'd be actually curious to see how many folks know us or have been to an installation. So a good amount of folks. We are a licensed electrical contractor, so we're a solar installer like many of you folks out there. We only install solar for low-income families, and we do it with this model that sort of engages the community, the families we serve, folks looking for jobs in the industry, you know, community colleges, job training organizations, and then all of us in the actual installation process. So everybody get together, roll up your sleeves, make solar happen where it otherwise wouldn't be able to happen. So why in the world are we doing what we're doing? You know, low-income folks are often paying a higher percentage of their monthly take-home on energy costs. And so, you know, one, we all deserve solar, right? That's why we're all here, to try to figure out a way to make that happen. But especially if, you know, you have the least access, and of that amount of money that you get every month, a huge portion of it goes to utility costs. And how are you supposed to live sort of month to month if you don't know what your electricity bill is going to be next month, next year, 5 months from now? And so the savings that we can provide to families is significant, while, you know, most of our families are very miserly, living in very modest homes, you know, doing their part on energy efficiency, putting, you know, 20 or 50 or sometimes in the valley, you know, hundreds of dollars back in their pocket every month is a really big deal. And I saw a great op-ed maybe yesterday by Van Jones about sort of more solar, not less, that was, you know, talking about, you know, peaker plants and where do we put our peaker plants. In San Francisco, sort of a good example of that. You know, we've had 2 peaker plants in the poorest communities here in San Francisco. And, you know, so definitely putting clean power into the hands of folks that have been breathing air and have, sort of crisscrossed by highways and, breathing traditional power plants and, throughout the nation. If we sort of look at this as a national model, where do we, get coal from? It's in, poor rural communities as well. And then it only makes sense if you're installing solar for low-income folks that you do it in a way that, takes somebody who needs a job living in that house or standing on the corner down the street and make sure that they're getting hands-on experience in a growing industry, not a shrinking industry. So, our model has a very strong push on workforce development because we feel, and think that lots of folks feel, that solar is an industry that can employ many of our workers. Installation in particular, which is what we're doing, is not something that can be outsourced. We're not having somebody fly in from wherever to put our panels on our rooftops. So Rosanna asked me to talk about challenges, and there are certainly lots of them in terms of working with the communities that we work with. General distrust for outsiders and outside programs. I remember in the early days of working in San Francisco, people were like, "You want to do what?" So, often we look like, the vacuum salesperson that's going to sell you something that doesn't work and, just took some of your money. And, people are generally skeptical about coming in with something that says it's going to work for you and might not. And then, low-income folks, at least in California, have access to a lower utility rate. And so the amount of money that they're crediting back their power at is less than if we are an energy hog and we're 300% over baseline and we're paying 34 cents a kilowatt hour and selling that back. Your ROI is much bigger for somebody who has a much bigger home and much bigger energy needs. So the economics are not nearly as good. And then, tricky financing, low-income folks, I think we've seen that before. So there's a lot of skepticism out there around financing and, loans and taking out loans. And then, not all, but some of our families have less than ideal credit scores, making them, not the perfect candidates for a lease or a third-party ownership model. Any of those that I want to highlight any more than others? I think, when we talk maybe afterwards about how does our model weave in to, sort of multiple people owning or using power from a system offsite, I think, a lot of the paperwork part is something that I think about in terms of consumer protection. How many reams of paper are you going to have to sign, and is that somewhere down the line going to, put a family at risk? So key components of our program, it's a turnkey approach. So we provide everything soup to nuts. We sit in people's, we sit in people's living rooms and help them decide if they want this on their rooftop. We educate them, we actually install the system with them and with all of you, and we mandate that they sign up for one of two free energy efficiency programs available to low-income families in California, because, one, everybody can do energy efficiency, not just homeowners and not just people who have roofs that are available for solar, and it's the right first step. You should never put solar on an inefficient house. And workforce development, the way I talked about. We're pretty big. We've grown over the last several years, the way Rosanna said. Mostly because when community is at its best, it's people talking to each other, and that's what happens with our stuff. Volunteers tell each other, job trainees tell each other, homeowners tell each other, and it isn't that hard to get community acceptance if your neighbor got it and your friend got a job in it. There's our growth. It's a crazy hockey stick. We're lowering people's bills. We're sort of building a huge power plant one house at a time and providing a lot of training. I'm hoping if I flip here that I got a lot of photos. So I put in reams of photos here that I'll flip through. Folks doing energy efficiency, a family in front of their own system, more families. This is a homeowner in East Oakland working on her system. Folks learning either on their own system or on somebody else's house how to install solar. You haven't flashed the wrap up yet, did you? You want to flash it? Okay. More folks getting job training. So it's hard to get your first job without experience, and hard to get experience without your first job, and this is sort of the way to do it. A lovely woman from East Palo Alto who got a system on her rooftop. Noelle down the peninsula, looking at her inverter, wiring it up. Another homeowner, more homeowners. I think these folks are in Fresno, which looks much like the rest of the country, the Bay Area. When I'm out there talking about, can solar work for low-income folks everywhere, the Bay Area looks very different from Topeka, Kansas, or Detroit, Michigan. So I'm putting a little plug in here if you want to touch and feel what it's like to make solar happen in a neighborhood. In the Bay Area, we have a big fundraiser once a year called Solar-thon. I put some stuff out there. Rosanna's a champion. You can ask her what it's like. Joy's actually been there, and this year it's going to be in San Jose on Saturday. What's that? July 21st. I think that's it.